Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna, and we are Epic Events, the organizer of today's Deep Pitch event. Epic is an e-commerce website for frontier tech products and events. Frontier tech includes AR, AI, blockchain, robotics, biotech, and other bleeding edge industries. So I want to cover the format of the pitch. Each startup will have 4 minutes to present. Judges will have 4 minutes to ask questions. If we have extra time, we will open up the audience. We will open up the floor so that the audience can ask questions. And then lastly, judges will have 4 minutes to give feedback. And before starting the panel, the pitch, I'd like to cover virtual networking, which is after the panel. We'll be using Zoom's breakout room feature. We'll provide a link that takes you to a different Zoom window at the end of the pitch. And we'll be sharing that in the chat. So on with this show, I'd like to give our judges a chance to introduce themselves. So judges, can you please introduce yourself, your company, your investment thesis, and any prior relevant investments? Raed, can you start, please?
Sure. So my name is Raed Masri. I'm with Transform VC. And our thesis is we like to back transformative companies that can impact 1 billion and hopefully make us 1 billion. And so easy to say, not so easy to accomplish. We think working backwards from that aspirational goal, what needs to happen is invest in truly defensible startups, those that exhibit deep technology moats and or strong network effects. So that's our mandate, and excited to be here. I've been an entrepreneur, had 5 startups with 3 failures and 2 20x outcomes before becoming a VC 5 years ago. And fun fact, my name Raed means entrepreneur.
Awesome. All right. Next, can we please have Karthi?
Yeah, hi. I'm Karthi. I'm a managing partner at MFV Partners. So we're an early stage deep tech fund. What we mean by deep tech is companies that has fundamental differentiation using technology. And we try to go in a post-seed, so not necessarily early seed, but post-seed, Series A. We write between $1 to $3 million checks, and we look at areas like neural computing, quantum computing, robotics, applied AI. It's not limited to those, but those are some of the areas that we look at. And we have done about 7 investments so far. And we are actively investing as well. We probably will do our first post-COVID-19 investment end of this month. So we will continue to invest, continue to evaluate companies. And personally, before this, I spent 11 plus years at Qualcomm Ventures, which is a corporate venture arm of Qualcomm. And then before that, I did 3 startups in Silicon Valley in the mid-90s. So I've been through 3 recessions, big recessions. So so in some way, this is expected to go through. I think we'll come out of it. But I want to thank Anna for putting this together. I think in this time of virtual meetings, I think like more and more of this is good. So I look forward to hearing people's ideas and possibly work together with some of you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, can we please have Tim?
Hey guys, I'm Tim Trompedak. I help, or I kind of chair the Chicago Booth Angel Network Silicon Valley. We are loosely bound together as all being graduates of the University of Chicago and predominantly the Booth School of Business. We do have members from other sort of walks of life, so we're not super exclusive there. We're in many ways like a standard angel group that has some sort of loose affiliation. We do collaborate with a number of other angel groups around the Valley, whether they're alumni networks or not. And we as Chicago Booth Angel Network are one of a few chapters that exist around the world, and we've had some success in sharing deal flow across that. We have a pretty broad-based membership base. We don't have really any industry constraints. That's typically just what people are, in terms of membership into. One thing that we do shy away from is most healthcare things. But yeah, investments have ranged anywhere from really kind of a seed stage to some folks are even interested in sort of 20+ million valuations. So yeah, I'm sort of matchmaker, if you will, in that regard. And yeah, I look forward to hearing these pitches. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. lastly, can we have Allison?
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Anna and Dan, for putting this together. My name's Allison. I work for Blue Run Ventures. We are a fund based here in the Bay Area. We focus on seed and Series A investment opportunities in workflow automation, fintech, edge computing, and digital health. And I think that we're always looking for companies that are somehow tapping a unique network effect. I think that's common across most of our portfolio companies. Looking forward to being here.
All right, thanks, Allison. Okay, so we will have first up, we've got Shreyas, and actually the person actually, hold on, let's see. All right, thank you, yeah. I think your audio may be off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
And I am about to
Perfect.
start, yeah, and starting the timer now. 4 minutes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. Jumping right in. Loop-to-Loop unlocks private customer data, which is the data that lives inside your mobile device, including location, photos, playlists, whatever. And how we do it without ever compromising your privacy. It's how mobile optimized companies in all industries will deeply understand their customers in near real time at scale. This allows those companies to deliver personal, loyalty building experiences and ultimately grow faster. My name is Tyler Douglas. I'm one of the co-founders of Loop-to-Loop and the CEO. I've spent the last decade working with many of the largest companies in the world, helping them learn from and learn about their customers, customer intelligence. What Loop-to-Loop offers is so different compared to the status quo that it's unimaginable to most people, including most industry insiders. The easiest way to think about it is as a massive new data source that historically has been totally untouchable. Now we can access it through completely privacy-preserving technology, delivering greater value with greatly reduced risk and liabilities. Knowing and understanding your customers is the holy grail of marketing. For most companies, the more you know, the more you can grow. But most companies are terrible at this. And the reasons often cited are no time, no skills, not the right people, not enough people. Companies do what they can with what's available, of course, but today, that's largely transactional and behavioral data, if even that. Loop-to-Loop will unleash private data, automating continuous intelligence loops between companies and their customers. And eventually, will create multi-party private data ecosystems that allow companies to collaborate and scale in ways they could not do solely on their own. That is a potential network effect. Setup will be easy, and once it's running, customer intelligence will continuously flow in automatically. And depending on how you slice and dice it, the customer intelligence market is a $30+ billion industry. Accessing private customer intelligence in a completely privacy-preserving way is going to complement and eventually replace many of the existing methods today. The explosion of user-generated data, coupled with ever-increasing computational power in the palm of your hand and privacy-preserving AI, is going to lead to a movement away from centrally storing individual personal data, which creates liabilities and mistrust, and move to decentralized privacy-preserving solutions that provide a much deeper, more accurate, and much more valuable understanding of your customers. And as a bonus, it also drastically reduces the company's computational costs, moving the computation onto that mobile device. There's no shortage of ways that companies can benefit from better understanding their customers, from awareness, acquisition, retention, and more. Private data will improve marketing, market intelligence, product experiences, helping to bring companies closer to their customers than ever. Our platform will allow us to easily build, or companies could build for themselves, AI models with targeted purposes including these examples on the slide here. Our primary focus are building use cases that are not currently being solved in any other way, or would be dramatically improved with the uniqueness of personal data. We've got a great team with the necessary experience in data science, AI, startups, enterprise scaling, and customer intelligence. I myself am, this would be my second startup software company. The first one was a successful exit to the active network in San Diego. We're hungry and relentlessly resourceful. The innovations needed to make this work are real today, and the advantages are so great that we have no doubt this shift is inevitable. Eventually, every company will add or switch to Loop-to-Loop or something like it. We're delighted to be here. Thanks for having us. Look forward to potentially working together.
All right, awesome. So now, judges, please, let's ask your questions.
Sure, the basic question is the how.
Using something called decentralized learning, where we train an AI model on the mobile device of a user, where the data never leaves their device. What leaves is the equation, the intelligence that's returned centrally. But there would be no way using things like homomorphic encryption, differential privacy, to unpack the individual person. A great example of this is what Apple and Google have recently launched with contact tracing for COVID-19.
So you need the OS's approval? Is this like, can it be an app or how?
We integrate through an SDK with existing apps. So, or any mobile optimized company. So m.walmart.com, for example, any mobile optimized company where you can learn and reach the data on that mobile device.
So as a user, as the customer, let's say, do I need to give you access? Like, will I get all those pop-ups like share photos, share this, share contacts, share? Like, how does all of that data actually get?
Yeah, is it an opt-in or is it seamless? Yeah, that's a good question.
It is seamless as long as the user has already allowed that data to be accessed by that particular app.
Yeah, I can give some more information on that if you don't mind. Can you hear me?
Shreyas is the head of product, my business partner.
So the way it kind of works is, we all know different levels of apps have different levels of permissions. So imagine your app already has a lot of these permissions covered. You could immediately kind of read all of this data. And in some of the kind of experiments that we worked with, imagine you can sign in with, let's say, a Google account. So what you could then do is locally trigger a Google Takeout instance. And as soon as you locally trigger a Google Takeout instance, you could potentially access every kind of information that a person has created when he engages with Google. It could be the photos that he takes and stores, or it could be the web searches that he does. It could be the locations that he's been to. It could be the songs that he has on his playlist. All of those things, that already exist. The great thing about doing it in a privacy preserving manner is that this data never leaves the phone of the customer. So we send models to the phone in a way called federated learning. So Sundar Pichai also kind of talked about federated learning a lot in the latest I/O conference. So you could send these models to the devices. We've had some experiments with this where we classified photos on the person's phone as taken outside, taken inside, or this photo has a pet, this photo doesn't have a pet, what pet kind of sits in the photo, what kind of songs that the person listens to. So we collect this kind of intelligence on a person and we store it. In the proof of concepts that we are kind of working right now, all this data sit in customers' firewall. But in the future, we want to build a platform on which people can do secure multi-party computation across all these devices. So we are basically building like a metadata for the data that sits within everybody's mobile device. We could easily scale this to desktop, but we are not interested in scaling it to desktop at this stage. Desktops simply are not as good as your mobile phones, and mobile phones are doing such a good job. There's no reason to do anything on a desktop.
So go ahead, sorry.
What, if any, like data, what unique data are you collecting for your customers? And then how does that fit within their own like customer data management system?
So this does not talk to any of the pre-existing data management system because this is fundamentally different. For instance, take this example, like Taylor talked about what Google did with, Google and Apple are doing with corona tracing. So that works with the idea called private set intersection. What it means is that, when usually in a way, if I have a phone and you have a phone, and when we both cross each other, both of our data has to go into a central pool of a large data set. where you know that both of you crossed each other, and then trigger a message. Using private side intersection, the data can actually sit just within your phone, and we can only send encrypted signals to another device or another kind of a location. And from there, we can say both of you kind of came into each other. You could kind of extend this across. So to answer your question more directly, we do not interface with any of the systems that currently exist. And that is great news for us, because we can directly have a marketer access all this information through a front end. Think of it as, like the first version of Omniture or like Google Analytics for what websites had for transaction data. So we are going to do that for private data that sits within your phone. So you'll basically see things like customer A went to, not customer A, but sets of customers A sort of went to school, went to university, went to shopping center A, went to that location. So you'll have location data like that. And then you'll have information like customers had these many photos, 20 photos were taken in the last 15 minutes, out of them 15 were taken outside, or he spends 9 hours within a home, 8 hours in an office. So it is like that kind of high level intelligence that will be collected centrally.
All right, guys, we've gone over time for Q&A. Judges, can you please provide your feedback? 1 minute per judge, roughly.
I'll go first. So I thought the presentation was good, and like it's clear like the technology that you guys have built in terms of the like distributed decentralized machine learning is not an easy thing to build. So like that's awesome that you guys have gotten to this. I think that the one piece of concrete feedback is I would have loved in the pitch to hear a little bit more about what the core ROI is for your customers. Like what are you doing? Because I think a lot of the pitch was emphasized on like the technology infrastructure, which is great, but also I want to understand like why is anybody going to buy this, and why is it an immediate buy and not like a, do you know what I'm saying? So that's just, but otherwise it was good pitch. Good job.
Thank you, awesome.
Which judge would like to go next?
I can go. This is Tim. So yeah, I thought it was a clean pitch. I think it's we are at a deep tech event, so the pitch was very much focused on the technology. That said, I would have very much like Allison has said, kind of tried to understand. Would love to have seen a true use case, so kind of an end-to-end flow of how a customer would see it and how ultimately the experience would be for the end user of it. I mean, because we sort of have two users here. We have the person buying, the company buying the service, and then the end user who is a customer of that service. So would love to understand that. I'm still kind of a little sort of fuzzy on the UX of what happens for the customer and whether they will truly opt in. At the end of the day, I think the key thing, what I would want to see proven is efficacy of this. So if you have any early metrics on how this truly does either change behavior of the customer, or if it truly allows the buyer, the company, to make certain change to their product or decisions, just general efficacy, which would obviously allow sort of backing into value and such. I'd love to understand some of that if there's any early data.
Great, thanks, Tim.
I can go next. Thanks, guys. It was a good pitch, given there's only 4 minutes. Instead of focusing on the feedback on the pitch, let me give you a couple of questions for you guys to think about. One is, at Qualcomm, we have seen this quite a bit in terms of this mobile marketing, mobile ad business over the last 10 plus years. Having this data, profiling this data differently to understand the customer profile has been done in different ways. So for me, the question would be to say, why wouldn't the current the DMP guys or the data guys can do this? And more importantly, given that they're already connected as a SDK into these apps and getting these information, why will an app provider allow another SDK? There's been an SDK fatigue in terms of so many SDKs they've been integrating and whatnot. So the question around existing guys who currently profile, they all do location, behavior, all those things. What is the, as an app provider, why will I take this? And then second thing is that this whole concept of this SDK fatigue, how would you avoid that and get your thing distributed across all the phones? Those are things that I suggest you guys think through it. I think when you have a longer pitch with investors, you might want to cover these two things, how you're going to actually address these things as well. Because we have looked at several companies that build these type of profiles around people's behavior using data that they're collected through SDK. So good to understand the difference between the current guys out there and the distribution challenge.
Thanks, Karthik.
I'm done.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good presentation for the allotted 4 or 5 minutes. Obviously creates more questions than answers, but that's good because I'd like to, I think you created sufficient intrigue to say, let's set up time offline and learn more.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, guys, we're moving on to our next startup. So it's Joseph Gonzalez with Hudlin. Let's see.
All right, I'm starting my video on a separate feed, so you might see another Joseph Gonzalez on the feed that's actually showing me. All right, can you guys see the screen?
Yeah, it's blank right now. Okay, perfect. 4 minutes.
All right, awesome. So hi, my name is Joe Gonzalez. I'm a software engineer in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm happy to be here to present to you Hudlin, a new social economy.
Joseph, can you turn up your volume, please, on the second device?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just put it way up.
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
I actually have a microphone here, so I'll just talk into it.
Great.
Sorry. I'm happy to be here to present Hudlin, a new social economy. This is a project I started about a year and a half ago to address the problems of today's social platforms. Those problems are misaligned incentives, lack of monetization, and data privacy issues. Only a small number of users earn income based on their follower count, and due to the lack of native monetization features, income typically comes from sponsorship opportunities outside the platform. Another problem that has become evident is the misuse of users' private data as well. Hudlin aims to solve these issues by creating a new social economy using unique and blockchain tech for a true content ownership system so that everybody can be a part of the economy. So what does that mean? Hudlin aims to create content markets based on fun, unique features at the forefront while users benefit from owning the content that they share. Data ownership is the core foundation of Hudlin. Share tipping, post revenue, and benefits of virality will drive content market participation. At the foundation, owning content means that content is abstracted away from Hudlin. This empowers users to create monetization opportunities with their data that they truly own. Hudlin also aims to be privacy focused. Privacy is a core tenet of Hudlin and is possible from a business perspective because Hudlin doesn't sell your data. Here are some of the first features of Hudlin. Huddles are stake-based group coordination where users deposit funds to share their willingness to attend an event. It's very similar to Kickback if you've used that before. There's a distributed storage system. The current content storage design is focused around IPFS and Filecoin due to its alignment with our core values. There's also an encrypted messenger. It's a secure way for users to communicate to each other. And finally, the first two content monetization features that Hudlin implements are content tipping and content staking. Staking is a feature that focuses on allowing patrons to lock up funds into a post for a certain period of time, thus allowing them partial ownership of future tips on that post. This helps content go viral by allowing users to have a piece of the pie. Hudlin's designed as a protocol or a standard for anyone wishing to leverage the distributed incentive-enabled content creation. We envision a future in which anyone can utilize our service layer to launch permissionless content curation. With a built-in mobile wallet, Hudlin is one of the few Ethereum-based applications to cater to a mobile audience. And here's an example of the staking feature. And our business model is pretty simple. We basically take fees off of earnings at the smart contract layer. This allows us to bring income based on how often our features are used. And because our smart contracts are public, this also allows other platforms to try to integrate our features into their platforms. And as we see year after year, the social media industry's revenue has grown at an annual rate of 36%. We don't see this slowing down anytime soon. Through some market and competitor analysis, we've identified some key competitors and features that Huddling provides that others don't. As you see, we are mobile first. And we are using some of the most established popular currencies such as ETH and DAI, while bringing utility through features like P2P payments with the built-in wallet. And this is the roadmap that we have for 2020. As you can see in Q2, we're going to be looking for funding to help us get through the rest of the year. And we're looking for 500K to $1 million to take the team full time and also hire and expand the team as well. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Can you walk us through a use case, please?
Yeah.
Like, how do you envision this working out?
So actually, quarter one is already complete as well. So we did, if we go back to the previous slide, we have already launched the first version on Android and iOS. So if you want to actually play around with it and use it, you can search it up on the stores under Huddle. But basically, what we imagine Huddling to be is, at first, it's kind of a two-layer approach. There's the app itself, which users authenticate with a mobile wallet. In this case, it's an Ethereum wallet. And we use that for authentication purposes. They log into that system. They have feeds, and all the features are presented through that app. But in the background, so that is like the forefront where users are actually inside the app. But in the background, all of our features are smart contract based on the Ethereum blockchain. So a lot of it is kind of hidden away and tucked away. And what people really see is like, hey, I want to create a post or something like that. I want my, try to get my content to go viral. So they may enable features like staking, which allows some of the users to tie up some of their funds into that post on the Ethereum blockchain. And at a later time, when that post receives tips, they have a claim to some of those tips. So it helps give a little bit of profit to everybody involved. So it helps kind of people have a piece of the pie, basically. So that's one feature. So the whole thing is basically like a platform where we're hoping to introduce many different features. The first two features that have already been implemented on the app are the staking and tipping features. And the first version of the encrypted messenger is also there, which is based off of the Ethereum wallet as well.
So if one wants to tweet or blog or post anything, instead of using Twitter, they need to download your app?
Yeah, so right now what it is an app at first. So the app, they can go in there and monetize their content that they're trying to share, but not just like Twitter or like very short form text content. They can also post videos and pictures as well. But what we understand is that there's a lot of competition from the big guys out there, Facebook, Twitter. So we also are making sure that all of our features are accessible through the smart contract layer. So that way, if we can get popular enough and gain enough traction, other platforms can integrate and use our system as well.
I have a quick question. So this seems like a destination app or destination site where people come. Why not do it as a white label thing when work with content producing or destination websites and enable those things for them? Why do this as a destination versus enabling technology for the existing content guys included in their app?
So actually, it kind of is that. Maybe I'm not explaining it super clear. But there's two layers, right? There's the front end app that utilizes our service, which is on the blockchain. But we also need to be able to expose this to people and get people used to this system. There are not a lot of cryptocurrency-based social media apps out there currently. So we want to kind of train people and show them that these things are usable. We can have this new form of social media where people are posting content and can retrieve content and actually monetize it. However, right, we need to be able to show it to people and get them used to the idea. But the actual service layer, we're hoping that we can gain enough traction, enough users on our base to inspire other platforms to want to integrate, or basically to integrate with our service like as an API.
How do you plan to drive adoption of the service? What's your growth strategy?
So right now, this is actually have only been, we've released it about 3-4 weeks ago. So we're trying to launch campaigns right now, social media campaigns and stuff like that. We need to drive adoption through campaigning. We don't have enough exposure right now. We're a very small team. It's me and 4 other people. We're hoping to try to get some of this first initial funding. We have had no funding at all yet. Everybody's just been working part-time. But we want to get some funding, and some of that money that we would use for that funding is to get somebody that is campaign ready, that can go out there and try to make this, try to get it more trending.
All right, guys, judges, any other questions really quickly before we move on to feedback?
I'm going to mute my microphone real fast.
Okay, judges, let's move on to feedback. 4 minutes.
I can go first. And again, I'm not going to talk about the presentation style because it's 4 minutes. I think the question that I would suggest is what Tim brought up as well. If you're going to be a destination site, your go-to-market, how you're going to build user base is going to be a big challenge. So you should actually lean on somebody else actually building this. And what we have seen some companies like this in the past when blockchain and cryptocurrency was actually had a lot of momentum a couple of years ago. But what you want to look at is maybe look at some partners who are maybe tier 2, tier 3, destination sites. Maybe the Netflix of the world, the Twitters of the world won't engage, but if you want to go to the second tier, third tier, they probably want to engage and have differentiation. So you want to, my feedback would be that you want to think through that go-to-market rather than being a destination site versus just finding an early partner to integrate in.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense.
Thanks.
I can go. So yeah, I think the growth strategy is something that, and the go-to-market is something you need to figure out and get a little bit more color on. I also kind of think about, I appreciate that this is a deep tech event, and you spoke a lot about how you're using blockchain to power this. I don't know that that matters for the end user, and so I'm trying to understand why. Why that's so important, and why couldn't this be done in another way? And ultimately, I would love to see just a general better understanding of how someone truly engages with the product, and especially if you have product in market, maybe some screenshots and some user flows would be excellent.
Sweet, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo Tim. I mean, it took us, we ate a lot of the Q&A time just trying to understand exactly how this works. I'm not sure well, at least me, I'm still not sure how exactly it works. So perhaps screenshots or walking us through the status quo. Someone is on Instagram, here's an influencer, this is how they're making money today. Now, fast forward with our vision, they're going to do it this way and they'll make money that way. I think that would be super helpful.
Awesome. That's really good advice. Thank you.
Thanks, Joseph. Yeah, I think all of my feedback has been said, but thanks for the pitch.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, we actually have 1 minute left. I can open the floor to the audience. If you have a question or feedback you'd like to give Joseph, because we do have a lot of other investors in the audience. Please press the button that says raise hand, or you can write something in the chat and I can read it out loud. Okay, so no questions. Okay, no questions. All right, so we will move on to the next startup. All right, so next up we've got Nikhil Seghal with VestMinds.
Hey guys, just checking you can hear me.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, let me know if you guys can see.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So hi guys from the UK. My name is Nikhil Segal. I'm very happy to introduce you Fastminds today. In a short sentence of what we do, we are a digital health startup. We leverage artificial intelligence, computer vision, and signal processing to be able to turn any device with an embedded camera into a non-invasive diagnostic tool. And I'll go into a little bit more about how we do that, but effectively what we do is analyze the video feed of an individual's face to extract what's called a photoplethysmography signal or PPG signal. And we consequently analyze this signal to extract information in real time from video and remotely, information about that individual's real-time heart rate, their respiration rate, their oxygen saturation levels, and some other features that we're exploring. We recently were accepted into Microsoft startup ecosystem, which is why we have this little badge here. So we are building our core technology on Microsoft Azure. But I'll just dive into it. I won't spend too long on this side. Effectively, if you combine those three statements, all we are really trying to do is make healthcare more accessible. And the way we're trying to do that is by leveraging consumer technology devices such as smartphones, which already have embedded cameras and have the ability for us to leverage the video feed that can be captured with those cameras. And this is our team. We feel like we're well placed to engage in it and engage in a lot of research exploration and engage with this project. We have the founding team at the top here. Myself, I'm CEO and co-founder. I have my other co-founder is a CTO and chief data scientist. And Dr. Claire Budden also is the other co-founder who has a lot of domain expertise in the medical field. So we feel like we have a good mix of data science, domain expertise, and an entrepreneurial background amongst the rest of our board advisory team to help us succeed in this project. So this is what we do. We exploit the fact that the human skin is translucent, which means that light can penetrate the skin. And once that light penetrates the skin, it's actually absorbed at different intensities by changes in blood volume underneath the skin. And that's actually encoded within the RGB pixel values of any video feed, which means measuring changes in those RGB pixel values, we can extract a PPG signal. And from that PPG signal, we can extract in real time an individual's vitals. So I'll show you exactly how this looks in action. So here's Pablo, he's one of our research scientists. You can see we're trying to extract his heart rate remotely from video. He'd actually just gone for a run at this point. In the left-hand corner, you can see we're analyzing the changes in intensity values on the RGB channels. The white line is what's really important. That's a PPG signal that contains a lot of information about his vitals. And from that, we can actually extract his BPM value. Just so I know you guys have asked this in other presentations, I just want to show you some user flows. So it would be more of a turnkey solution for any user using this product. So simply, we would ask them to, if I just show you here, can you guys still see my screen here of an iPhone?
Yes.
We would simply, and actually we're currently developing an app to help people manage three things, which is their oxygen saturation levels, their respiration rate, and their heart rate. Because those three vitals are very important, and you usually experience a degeneration in oxygen saturation and a higher than normal respiration rate when you are infected with coronavirus. And simply all we're doing is we're asking individuals to look into this camera. For around 60 seconds, this execution maybe we'll put some cool graphics at the moment. I don't know. We're releasing in the next few weeks, so maybe we'll have some cool graphics on the user's face. But after this 60-second execution is done, we're simply asking users just to stare into a smartphone camera. We'll ask them a few questions related to coronavirus 19. We'll analyze those results, and after the analysis is done, we'll actually provide them with a risk assessment score for coronavirus and we'll give them their vital readings that we extracted from that short execution. These are just dummy numbers. If anyone had an oxygen saturation levels of 15%, they'd be dead, just by the way. So these are just dummy figures. And we recently hired a chief medical officer to validate the efficacy of our product. So he will be, for the foreseeable future, he will be conducting clinical trials so that we can gather data and prove the accuracy of our product of measuring vitals remotely from video feed. Some of the other products we have in our roadmap are remotely measuring blood pressure, remotely measuring core body temperature, and also blood glucose levels. I won't go through the rest of the pitch deck. I think I've run out of time, but I'll welcome any questions.
All right, if you actually had a slide that you wanted to finish with, you may.
Okay, cool. So I will finish with this slide in that case. If I just present that. So this is our roadmap here. This is probably the most important for measuring infected coronavirus patients. Again, measuring their pulse rate, their oxygen saturation rate, their respiration rate. We're on track to release the app I just showed you by the end of this month. That will also be hosted on Microsoft's platform. We're currently conducting research into how to measure blood pressure remotely. At the moment, we're out by around 4 millimeters of mercury, which is the units of blood pressure. Our target mean accuracy level is around 1 mmHg. So we're currently still conducting a lot of research into different deep learning architectures and how they can accurately extract blood pressure remotely. But some of the other features that we're aiming to remotely measure through video feed is core body temperature and also blood glucose levels for diabetic risk assessments. But no, thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll welcome any questions.
Thanks, Nikhil. Super topical and relevant, but also valid, like the high utility solution. What's your distribution strategy? Are you planning on going direct to consumer? Are you going to try to sell through health plans? Like, how are you thinking about?
Yeah, great question. So actually, our primary target market is teleconsultations. Distribution plan, our business model will be a B2B SaaS-based type model. So it'll be a subscription-based model, price per user. Now, teleconsultation companies can integrate with our SDK. So let's take, for example, there's actually been a boom in teleconsultations over the past couple of weeks, as you can imagine. If I feel as though I'm infected, I'm not going to go out and see a doctor. I'd rather have a video conference with a doctor. So what we want to do is empower those teleconsultation companies to allow the doctor over a video call to see the real-time vitals of that patient, to allow for a better diagnostic assessment of what referral, what treatments they should take, just depending on what they're seeing in real time.
Do patients,
sorry, go ahead, Alison.
Do patients need to be, is there other like lighting, position constraints? Like, do I need to be positioned in a certain way?
So actually, lighting was a big issue initially, but we've actually normalized for illumination and normalized for motion. So we normalize for motion. So if if the individual is moving quite rapidly in the frame, then maybe that will throw our algorithm off a little bit. But as long as they exhibit some natural movement, if there is like strong lighting, like you can see on my face right now, we normalize for that. So that really shouldn't affect the accuracy of us extracting vitals.
Cool.
This can work in any camera?
It can work on any camera. Actually, in fact, if you think of an iPhone camera today, an iPhone camera can produce 4K footage. We did an experiment the last couple of weeks ago to see how far we can damage an image by and still obtain good accuracy. We were able to get that image down to around 640 by 480. Bearing in mind that a video feed from an iPhone can produce 4K, we can damage that down by over 10 times and still obtain accurate measurements. So for any device in this day and age, any smartphone device, any laptop that was produced, I'd say, within the last 5 years, we can take that video feed, and the resolution from that video feed will be sufficient enough for us to gain an accurate measurement of that individual's vitals.
What's the defensibility?
Sorry?
Defensibility, your moats from others coming in.
So one of our defensibility strategies is getting FDA and CE marking approval. So getting regulatory approval for this product will involve us to invest a lot in clinical trials, collecting proprietary data and demonstrating the efficacy of our product. I believe once we have, and that's actually recently why we've hired Dr. Raj Kumar, who's our Chief Medical Officer. He has a lot of experience in conducting clinical trials for medical device regulatory approval. So that's one of our main defensibility strategies, and our core IP, which we believe that we have a lot of expertise in computer vision and signal processing. So we believe our core IP is within our algorithms that are able to accurately extract a clean PPG signal.
You said FDA. Are you predominantly looking at the U.S. market, or are you looking at Europe or other places where maybe the regulatory environment is a bit different and perhaps a little less of a hurdle?
Yeah, so for Europe, we're looking, for Europe, we need CE mark in class 2A. For China and US, we both need, we need FDA approval. We are primarily looking at Europe and US. China is a big market for us as well. In fact, we've recently been engaging with Huawei and Tencent, and also with the Peking Medical Institute, which has links to Ping An Doctor, which is China's largest teleconsultation platform. I think they have over 300 million users paying $70 to $200 annually. And also, if you look at China, because of the one-child policy issue, they actually have the largest growing elderly population who are most vulnerable to cardiovascular disease and also and diabetes and other health conditions that would require them easy access to be able to monitor their vitals.
If the judges don't have another question, actually 2 questions were asked by the audience. One is it easier to do this by putting a finger on the camera? And the second one is, does it work with dark skin? Okay, so
so the first question is it easier to put your finger on a camera and do it? Easy answer is yes, it is. It is easier to put a finger on a camera. You actually get a cleaner PPG signal by doing that. But we believe that our algorithms are able to normalize for motion artifacts and illumination changes that can happen in a video feed for us to still extract a clean PPG signal. With regards to darker skin, yes, it is actually more challenging to extract these vitals from darker skin, but again, we've normalized for that. The reason why it's more challenging to extract these signals from darker skin, I myself am a darker skinned individual, but darker skinned individuals have a higher melanin concentration as a result of our pigmentation. Now, what happens is when you have a higher melanin concentration, when light penetrates your skin and it's refracted back, that refracted light is really what we are trying to analyze, but that refracted light gets absorbed a lot more by the melanin concentration of the skin. So you actually get a lower signal. You actually get a noisier signal with darker skin. But again, we've been normalized for that. We've tested this. We've tested this by hooking up darker skinned individuals to contact sensors, measuring their ground truth values from a pulse oximeter and comparing it against ours. And actually on measuring the pulse rate, we're only out by around half a BPM.
So how dark can we go?
We've gone pretty dark. I can actually show you experiment. Do we have time?
Really quickly, since, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so can you guys still see my screen?
No. We cannot. You have to share it.
Okay.
Yeah, press the center.
I'm racing to get some of my tests up that we've recently just done, so just bear with me 2 seconds. So I'll show you one test with darker skin individuals that we just took. Let's have a look. Okay, so just share my screen here. Let me know when you guys can see it.
We still don't see it.
Okay, let me try this. Okay, what about now?
Yep, started screen sharing. Yes, we see it now.
Okay, so again, the resolution of this footage is not great. I'm sure an iPhone or any other device in this day and age can produce a better footage. But what you'll see in a second is the red value that will pop up in the top left-hand corner is our estimation of this individual's heart rate. And you'll see the green value is actually what's coming back from a contact sensor attached to this individual's finger. So you can see we're pretty much bang on in estimating visually what his heart rate value is versus what the heart rate value is from the pulse oximeter that's actually attached to his finger. I think at some points when he smiles, it does throw our algorithm off a little bit, but there's some refining that we'll need to do. So you can see that he smiled and then it slightly threw off our algorithm. The algorithm started estimating 49 BPM for some reason, but there's some refining we can do for that. That's an ongoing improvement that we'll make to our algorithm. But as you can see over time, over a 60-second clip, we can smooth out those values to make sure that we have an accurate reading.
What's efficacy today, and what are you? How much more improvement is there?
So at the moment, we're currently out by 1 BPM on the heart rate. We're currently testing at the moment our accuracy on oxygen saturation and respiration rate, which we both aim to get within 2 percentage points on oxygen saturation and within 2 RPM on respiration rate.
All right, guys, let's go on to judges' feedback. 1 minute.
What's the ask?
Sorry, say that again, Ray?
What's the ask? How much do you need?
Oh, so we're actually looking to raise $1.5 million by mid Q3, and that will help us scale up our backend infrastructure and also process with R&D in areas such as remotely measuring core body temperature, blood glucose levels, and also help us fund clinical trials to prove the efficacy of us so that we are able to obtain FDA the necessary regulatory approvals to break into more stringent markets.
So this gets you to FDA or not quite?
It does, yeah.
I can go first. Hey, good presentation, thank you. The one thing that I would suggest you to think through is you have 2 paths. One is, hey, I'm going to be very, very accurate. Going to go through FDA, almost diagnostic level accuracy. The other is, look, this is going to be a very quick way for anybody to get a reasonably good measurement. It's not for diagnostics. It's not for doing a medical procedure. But this can be now widely used type of a thing. So you have these 2 choices. Just from my past, we looked at this bunch of things, including ECGs, portable EKGs, ECGs, and whatnot. You probably have a bigger market going after, hey, I'm not 100% accurate. I'm not even 99.9% accurate to the medical diagnosis level, but I'm 95% accurate. So by what you have in your fingertips, now you get reasonably good view on where things are. That probably you just open up more, you probably need less capital and then whatnot, versus you're trying to be this medical diagnostic grade equipment. So what you might find that the going this prosumer casual thing has probably bigger market reach than that. So before you go this deep FDA route, I want to be a medical grade, you might want to think through that scenario and see, do you want to go that route versus the other route?
Yeah, that's actually good. Sorry, if I can just add to that, Anna, if you don't mind. That's actually a really good point, and thank you, Karthi. Actually, one of the other areas, instead of going for hard diagnostics, we are looking into sports and wellness. So some of the companies that we are talking to are manufacturers of home workout equipment, like Peloton, for example, whereby those individuals can effectively have an interactive board, and they have their camera. And we're actually doing some work where from the PPG signal, we can measure what's called heart rate variability, which relates to an individual's aerobic fitness levels. So being able to measure aerobic fitness levels remotely through home workout equipment is another area that we potentially don't need to be a hard diagnostic company in. So yeah, no, thanks. Great point.
I think it's like a great pitch, interesting great technology. I think the only point I'd say to enhance the overall pitch and also to think about is like what you just said is include more on the various go-to-market strategies you have, and what, if any, indication you have from like potential customers to sort of roll this out as pilots, to get it like used, get some feedback real time, and it'll also train the algorithm to be better the more it's used, I imagine. So
yeah, thanks, Allison.
As someone that looks at very, very early stage companies and sort of looking at the fellow investors in our group, once we hear FDA, it usually scares people away. So depending on the type of profile of investor that you're seeking to raise from in your initial round, and if it's not angel investors, if it's more institutional, then maybe this comment doesn't so much apply. But if you're going out to some angels, angel groups, they are often not so interested in anything that requires these long cycles with an FDA approval. So that's sort of FYI. That said, I think if your go-to-market strategy is something along the lines of, hey, we're going to provide a sort of good enough corona response, Africa monitoring where there's less regulatory overhead, maybe that's a great way to get a fire hose of data. Maybe that's a great way to get good exposure. Maybe that's a great way to, I don't know, like partner with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who are, just deployed what it was like $150 million against coronavirus in Africa. And so it's just like would get your name out there and would get you more testing data. And then you could always look into some of the more regulated environments. But yeah, think about the type of investor you're going after, and then that I think determines ultimately like the go-to-market a little bit, or vice versa.
Great point. Thanks so much, Tim.
Yeah.
Ryan, did you have, yeah, okay.
Yeah, my feedback was, I thought it was a well done presentation. If you can maybe discuss how you would charge for this. Is it per diagnostic, or is it a SaaS? You talked about it being a SaaS, so perhaps covering a little bit of that would be helpful. But on the whole, I thought it was a good presentation. I'd like to learn more.
Great. No, thanks, Rod. I'd love to speak to you more. For anyone of you guys who are interested, I'd love to speak to you more in the breakout session.
Okay, so actually in the chat we had someone ask another question. I'm gonna ask it. That person said, "Brilliant concept." So your app with the dark screen scenario. So your app allows for general prognosis outside of COVID-19.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we actually didn't build this in mind for COVID-19. It just so happens that some of the clinical features associated with COVID-19 are the things that we can measure remotely. This hasn't been primarily built for COVID-19 screening, but it is something that we will be releasing, and hence why we have been given a small bit of cash from Microsoft to get our infrastructure going, so we can release this as an app to help people screen for COVID.
Awesome. All right, thank you. We're going to move on to our next startup. It is Morgan Young with Thrive AI. So Morgan, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, great. Let me just share my screen. Okay, let me know when you can see that.
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, hello. Yeah, I'm Morgan Young. I've founded Thrive AI. Now, essentially, Thrive helps you keep more of your users and grow your MRR with AI. Now, we are looking at essentially being built for SaaS companies. Now, before I kind of dive into what we do, I just want to talk a little bit about the problem we're trying to solve. So I've been kind of in and around SaaS and fintech companies now for a little while. So I've been I was in the marketing automation boom back in 2016, 2017, companies like HubSpot, SalesLoft, Prospect.io, people like that, and saw that there was a massive sales push, but there's huge competition in the SaaS market, and acquiring users, especially in like a B2B model, is getting increasingly more expensive. Now, in terms of customer success and retention, this has been a term that's kind of really boosted in popularity in the past kind of 4 or 5 years. But really, I've found in my experience and through the companies we've talked to already, that a lot of this approach is done on a kind of post-mortem basis. So, you know, this person has left, let's try and find out why they've left. That is essentially kind of, you know, that seems to be the basis of it, and we don't think that's quite good enough. And then also you've got, you know, people working on customer success platforms. You've got people, you know, having analytics tools, but really for kind of either startups or like small and medium-sized businesses, a lot of the time they don't have the manpower, and sometimes the platforms they use to track this stuff are kind of too complicated, when all people want to do from a retention and customer success point of view is keep more users. Now, talk about retention. This Baremetrics did a study and found out that 8.4% is the average monthly churn rate for SaaS businesses, and you're doing well if you can get it under 5. We just don't think that's good enough. Now, what that means is obviously your sales team wastes time going after prospects that are probably going to leave in a couple of months. You have stagnant growth because you can't effectively plan where your MRR is going to be. And then you've also got a cloudy strategy. So it makes things like acquiring further funding rounds difficult if you can't prove your growth. Now, what Thrive does and kind of what Thrive is. So Thrive is a cutting-edge, data-led, world's first churn-busting artificial intelligence platform to help SaaS companies retain their users. Now, how it works is every application, and this will be a web-based application, every web-based application that users use will have user data associated with it. Everything from the time they spend on screen to the amount of money they've spent on the platform, whether they're a premium user or not, what features they've used. Good product teams track all this stuff, especially in startups that have to be super focused on kind of data-led growth. Our technology and kind of how we work through this, we have an AI classification model that is built off of that data that people have, and we work through it. And then after it is trained and put into production, so it works seamlessly, then what it will do is simply grab all the people's data, analyze it, and then before people have left, which is the important thing, they'll alert the company. They'll alert the SaaS company that their user is at risk of leaving. Now, this is essentially how it works. There's a consultancy bit in the beginning where we're optimizing the model with them. They then upload their data to it whenever they want, and they receive an alert of whether a client is going to leave or not from the platform, so they can step in and retain them. It leads to certainty, more scalability, and then sustainability in the business. The business model is a $500 setup to cover the cost of the consultancy work, and then $250 a month ongoing. And we're asking for $250,000, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things with what you see these days in investment, but that'll allow us to productionize the product, build out the marketing machine, which will be a heavily architected outbound process, acquire a core customer base. We've already got 20 pre-beta signups that we're working with to kind of shape this. It will prove our growth potential, and we'll also have minimal operating costs with that, seeing as we're a web application. Now, thanks a lot for that. I really appreciate you all listening to me ramble on. If you've got any questions, I'd love to hear them, and you can get in touch with me on these details. Oh, and I think you're on mute.
Yep, I am. Judges, questions?
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. Appreciate it. So I don't know, I might have missed this. Did you say like by how much your solution is able to reduce SaaS churn on average? Like, have you deployed this with any company?
No, we're still working with our kind of pre-signups to get that kind of efficacy bottomed out. In the testing we've done, the model's been around 97% accurate, which is kind of what you want with any kind of like AI or machine learning model. If it kind of pushes up into 99%, you're just looking like you've essentially kind of overfitted that model and trained it too hard. So I think we're in the right space. We're working with a select few companies that we have that have submitted interest into kind of bottoming that out further. But yeah, we're working at around the 97% mark at the moment with what we've got. But it's not in production, but we have the model that we would use.
And not all SaaS businesses are the same. So like reasons for churn would be different for different kinds of SaaS. So like, how are you accounting for that?
So that's why we have the consultancy period. So we completely get that, and I get that from the SaaS company that I've worked in. It's been totally different, and it wouldn't mean the same thing. So we have a consultancy period, and we've got a core model, so we know kind of how it's going to work. But when you're going through and building kind of a machine learning or AI model, you take into account the key features, and we'll look to do that with the businesses that we sign up. We'll go through and tweak the model. It's essentially called transfer learning. There's some stuff you can do with that. And that will enable the core model to work for any business.
Got it. Thank you.
I hope that helps.
Other questions from the judges? Tim, Ryan, or Karthi? You guys are all muted, so I don't know if you guys have questions. Okay, so then let's go on to feedback. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm gonna sorry, before feedback, let's go on to questions from the audience. If the audience has any questions, please either raise your hand or type it into the chat. Okay, I see some questions. All right, Prince, Tika, I will allow you to talk. Talking is permitted, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, Morgan. Yeah. For me, your revenues, your process of generating revenue is not really clear, that needs to be sort of accentuated a little bit more, in my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. It's a $250 a month subscription.
And what's the size of that market? I mean, it seems a very big ask. If you don't mind me saying.
Well, I mean, I guess you look at it in a return on investment kind of way, and an average. If we're looking at small and medium-sized SaaS companies, they can charge anywhere from like $100 a month from the smallest offering up to $500. So if you think that the solution could help them save even one of them, then it would be worth it.
Mm. So you see this kind of business model being a business-to-business kind of.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely SaaS companies. Yeah.
Right, and what's the size of that market?
I think the SaaS globally is, I haven't got the numbers off the top of my head, but I mean, we're looking at the small and medium sized businesses around that. I mean, there are a ton of SaaS companies about. We can go obviously globally. So I think, I mean, I saw a figure a couple of days ago, $150 billion is a SaaS. I mean, we're not going after all of it, but to be honest, I think kind of, market size is great, but what you need to do from a startup's point of view is just go after what you can. There are a lot of SaaS companies out there. We just need to build an outbound sales machine, productionize the product, and let signups be the validation.
Okay, and you think 250,000 will be enough for you to build the initial sort of prototype or MVP?
Yeah. So we need to, I mean, with cloud architecture and things like that, it's becoming increasingly easy to build these kind of web apps. The AI behind it will take a little bit more thinking, and it is taking more thinking. But I mean, deploying something like this really isn't that difficult or costly anymore. You've got on-demand services and things like that, which make it simple.
Okay. And have you put this forward to any potential sort of off-takers who might be interested in your product?
Yeah, so we've got a group of 15 to 20 companies that are signed up who have submitted interest. We're working with them in a user group to kind of define what they want out of it and try to build it from there. So yeah, we've got 15 to 20. We're still working on it, but it's moving in the right direction.
Okay, that's right. Well done.
Thanks. Cheers.
You're on mute, Anna.
All right, Adriana, I'm going to allow you to talk.
Hello. I just have a question that is pretty straightforward, because churn has been analyzed since mobile phones, prepaids, and it should be the core for every SaaS company. It's the fact of the matter that you're trying to do better, you must have someone with that high-end expertise. Because believe, your AI cannot be better than a 5-year SaaS company or a 7-year SaaS company. They already had collected all the info. You're pretty much eating the information from your first users to learn. So I'm just seeing that is maybe a very weak, entry point.
Yeah, sure. It's a really good point. A lot of the competitors out there for stuff like this aren't using AI. They're using rules. So if this, then that. It's not reliable enough from the user group that we've got. They're saying they've used customer success platforms before, and they're all out there, but the problem is a lot of them are rules-based. A lot of them don't learn specifically what that company needs, and what that user activity means to that business. That then means that actually, it's not that effective. And yeah, loads of SaaS companies, do have customer success teams and proper data scientists that analyze all their data, you know, and then yeah, they may well be better at knowing their data than we would. But we're not really going after them. We're going after small and medium-sized SaaS companies who have got customer success team who deal with, you know, training webinars and talking to people about how they use the product and seeing how they're getting on. You know, they've got salespeople, they've got admin, they've got marketing, and that, you know, that's about it. We're looking at kind of, you know, like 30 to 50 people really in the company, and those companies, from my experience and from the experience in our user group, don't have a data science function, so they can't analyze it.
Okay.
Okay, and then last question, have you considered different pricing based on the individual SaaS user base?
Yeah, we have. So we have considered doing it kind of, you know, on a basis of how many users you want to analyze. That is something we can do. We want to keep it as simple as possible, essentially in the start, and just go for the $250 a month kind of flat fee for anyone you want to analyze. The compute power at the moment is getting like increasingly cheaper, especially with on-demand services that you've got in various cloud systems. So we're not too concerned about the cost of that. So for, you know, if you look at it from a user and a prospect's point of view, you know, if it's $250 with a $500 setup, you know, that's it. We think that will be a simpler proposition in the beginning than kind of playing around with pricing structures. But it's something we can definitely put in the future if we see a need. Yeah.
Okay, judges, let's move on to feedback.
I can start. So yeah, thanks for the pitch. I think, you know, probably a really high value product for SaaS companies. You know, anything that reduces churn obviously means that you are not having to reacquire new users to replace them and so forth. So I like the concept of the product. I think my reaction to raising 250K is it sort of straddles this sort of friends and family versus seed area, and I'm not sure whether you're looking at one or the other or both. So you know, broad-based, I would say think about raising enough money to get you to the right next inflection point where you would then raise another bigger round, and make sure that that is enough money, because you don't want to be constantly fundraising, right? You want to take 3-6 months and get that money in the door, and just think about what the drop-off point is when you would reach the next stage of investor type, and just sort of go for the right ask now. I wanted to, I guess, hear a little bit more about the team. You spoke about we, but is this a single founder or not? Single founder can be tough, not impossible to raise money. But you know, a team and understanding who the team is would be good to have in a pitch, maybe in your long form that's in there. And then lastly, kind of this discussion around the pricing model. I know you have in your slides that it's a private beta pre-sale, but I would just sort of try to squash questions and discussions of that by saying, you know, we have this private pre-sale, all of the pricing model is TBD. We just want to make sure that we prove the efficacy of this. I would just sort of try to, you know, squash the question, because I agree that you know, their options are kind of limitless there, and you probably need better data and more experience to have a stronger opinion there.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense.
Next judge, please.
Yeah, I thought the pitch went well. I think that again, echoing Tim, like what are your core milestones that you're charting towards? How much money do you need to get there? How are you thinking about acquiring like companies and starting to commercialize this? Like focusing on that as much as you can would be great. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Rod or Karthi?
I can go. I think the high level value proposition was interesting. I think where I probably got lost was understanding of the problem and then how AI would solve that. I think in your pitches, you might want to focus on that a little bit more. I think everybody understands reducing churn as a problem, or is an important goal, objective. But how do you accomplish that, and why is that ongoing activity versus a one-time activity? Why is it different for? So that level of domain expertise, maybe you might want to show. And I think this is one of the advantages with software companies is that even at this stage, if you can just have one pilot customer validate you, whether they're willing to give the data and you are doing it for free, whatever it is, right? That probably drives home the message better. So those are some of the things that I would, I'm just trying to place how you could sell that value proposition. Those are the two things that I would think through. One is why are you able to drive this value proposition? And then second is, can you in some way get some validation, friendly customer or whatnot? Those two things would probably go a long way for you. Those would be my suggestions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that we're working on that with our user group. We're on it.
Yeah. I think the problem is a well-known one. Would have, I think, be very powerful if you had led with, hey, we've got 20 beta customers. These are the kind of questions they're asking. These are the kind of needs, and this is how we're responding. And obviously, if you're able to convert any of those into some sort of a paying customer, even if it's, I don't want to say nominal, but at least something that shows that they're willing to pay for what you have to offer. I think that would speak volumes.
Perfect. Thanks.
And even if you can do that before even raising the 250, that might be super telling.
Yeah, for sure. No, I get that totally. Thank you.
All right, I think that covers the basis for all the judges for feedback. Let's move on to our last startup. So it's Roger Malcolm with Depart Discount.
Hello.
Hey.
Am I able to share the screen right now?
Yep.
Okay.
You should be able to. We don't see it yet.
Okay. What about now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so hello, my name is Roger and I present to you Depart Discount, your local savings travel guide. Unlike the other ones, I am not deep tech. So the problem, when customers use short-term rentals to travel, their main complaint is not knowing what to do when they arrive. Short-term rental hosts are losing thousands of dollars a month because of the coronavirus. And when the coronavirus is over, short-term rental hosts will be searching for an upper hand on the industry. The solution. Depart Discount is a mobile application that allows short-term rental hosts to offer their guests discounts at local establishments. Our mobile application provides hosts with an opportunity to receive commission from local businesses. These businesses are broken down into 9 categories: activities, bars, events, gift shops, restaurants, gyms, rentals, supermarkets, and tours. Hosts can receive 2 types of commissions from these businesses. The first type is called partner commission. Partner commission is granted when a host personally gets a business to register on our platform. They will receive half of the commission on all guests that go there. This includes guests from other hosts. They will receive full commission if their own guest visits the partner business. And the second type is guest commission. Guest commission is granted when guests visit a business that they are not personally partnered with. And thirdly, the commission percentage is negotiated between the business and the host. The business will still have to offer a discount, so we will require hosts to follow guidelines that are fair for all sides. Outside of commission, guests will have a better experience by saving with discounts that are in the area and within their group size. Guests can see where past guests have gone, along with business reviews. Our nationwide market totals 1.8 million rental properties. And we're going to work off of a subscription model. So there's going to be the freemium, and the guests are only given access to 1 discount in some of the categories. And there's premium, $9.99 per rental property, guest access to all discounts, and host commission. And our business model. So users register 1 million rental properties on our platform, $120 annually for each individual property. And then there's additional advertising and a minimum of $120 million annually. That's a 5-year estimate. So the product, businesses manage discounts and paid advertisements. Guests explore discounts nearby, and hosts manage the guest dates for each property. The dates determine the guest account activation and expiration date. Guests can also leave business reviews and will receive pop-up notifications if they visit a local business that offers discounts. Competition. Our competitors are each unique in their own ways. Hotels tend to remain the most similar in the sense that they already offer local discounts. Groupon would be our next closest competitor in this unique niche. Why we are better. Unlike our competitors, most of our users, and more specifically guests, will be offered great discounts because short-term rentals are typically rented as group stays, family, friends, etc. Guests will be more inclined to use the application because rental hosts will be vibrantly flashing Depart discount as an additional incentive to stay with them. Also, pop-up notifications will make discounts easier to remember. Our milestones and goals: understand a need in a unique niche, create a prototype and develop traction, create an MVP, and begin a full-scale marketing operation. So our traction was created through Facebook host groups. We even messaged an ex-NFL player that wants to use this in Houston, where his properties are located. Break-even analysis. So if we have $100,000 invested and you divide that by the subscription cost of $9.99, that would total 10,010 registered rental properties with a 1-month return. And if you had 2 months, it'd only be 5,005 registered properties, and 3 months would be 3,367 properties, and so forth. So our break-even strategy: if we follow the criteria for a monthly return on investment, this is how we would approach the situation. We would use the same Facebook group that we garnered traction with and market to the rest of the population. The first 2 months of our application will be free. On the 3rd month, break-even is met. Our market strategy: the time is now. Short-term rental hosts will want additional revenue to make up for this pandemic. We will target the 3 most populated short-term rental areas. We will use social media and advertising to reach a larger group. And our scalability: we could partner with ride-sharing companies to allow discounts at partnered businesses. More specifically, bars could offer discounts on Uber or Lyft rides as an incentive. Bars and other long-term rentals could offer discount packages as an incentive to stay with them. Today, I had a Zoom meeting in a real estate investment group. I told them about our application, and in return gathered a lot of interest and contacts with people who own millions of dollars in apartments and other long-term rentals. We could eventually release our product into the worldwide market of short-term rentals. And I, Roger Malcolm, am the CEO of this company, and I came up with this idea when I went on vacation at an Airbnb, and my friends and I had no clue what to do. Also, we did not even think to open Groupon or other apps to try and save money on vacation. And then I have Zoe Francis Kakis. She is my Chief Marketing Officer. She is in the Honors College at Michigan State University studying hospitality, business, and finance. And Cameron Rosico, he's a software developer at Quicken Loans, and he graduated computer science 2019 at Michigan State University. He finished his bachelor in 3 years. And that is my presentation.
All right, judges, questions?
How do you intend to?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Red.
I was going to say, how do you acquire hosts?
Through the Facebook group. There are 33,000 host members just specifically in that group. We've had hundreds of them reach out to us wanting to use the application. And on top of that, I guess we could technically message hosts on the Airbnb and Vrbo platforms, but more specifically, we could reach out to rental properties that own a lot of these short-term stays.
How are you, how are you going to vet the properties, I guess? Right? And like what's the average size of the property?
They're going to be vetted mostly just by checking that they have an Airbnb or a Vrbo listing or a turnkey. So we're basically just going to check that their links and that those accounts. Right now, the APIs for those applications are basically closed to the public. So unless we could get in with Airbnb and Vrbo and ask them for access to their APIs, that is our only way to vet them other than background checks.
This is Karthi. How do you validate that that these discounts or coupons or whatever that you're going to provide through this host are not misused, right? So from an establishment, whether it's a bar or what their perspective, of course, for a new customer, they're willing to give this commission, but they don't want to pay this for any current customers and whatnot. So how do you make sure that these things are given out to people who are actually staying in Airbnb or whatnot? How do you validate that?
Well, the only way for a person to get access to the application is a host will go in. So they have their own account on the application. A host will go in on the account. They'll add the guest email. They'll add their check-in and check-out dates. And when they do that, that sends an email to that guest. And when they log in, the email will give them a sign-up page, and their account's only active in their check-in and check-out dates. At the end of that check-out date, they no longer have access to the application.
I think my worry is that you might have to bring in the Airbnbs into the equation is my worry to do the validation. And if you have to do that, whether Airbnb will play ball or not, I'm not sure. So anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, this local kind of discount is a very crowded industry. It's very crowded, right? From the Yellow Pages to the Yelps of the world to everything else in between, Google Maps and what have you.
Yeah. No, that's why we're in a unique niche. Like, it's specific for people going on vacation or traveling. Like, you get there and the hosts advertise on their profile that, hey, like with my rental property, you get discounts through this application. There are actually a lot of hosts that have personally messaged me and they tell me that they go and they talk to these local businesses and they get discounts for their guests. So that way when they go there, they have access to all this.
So what's the traction so far?
We've had probably a couple hundred people on the Facebook groups that want to sign up for this application. We validated the pricing through that Facebook group. We asked what they think would be fair as a monthly subscription cost, and they said between $8 and $10 a month would be fair. And I've also validated it through a real estate investment group. After this, I actually have a phone call with somebody that owns an apartment complex that would be looking to do this in terms of a long-term rentals. So stay at my apartment complex. Like, we offer discounts in the area, which would be popular more in college towns, I think, where a lot of people are ordering food all the time or taking Ubers.
Okay. And do you know that these merchants are going to offer discounts that are more attractive than Uber Eats and every other?
Yeah, we've contacted like these local businesses and stuff like that, and what we got from them is they are looking for ways to reach out to local travelers, especially with the way the economy is. When this pandemic's over, a lot of people are going to want to get out of their house and go probably travel, and a lot of them, quite a few of them, have said they would use our platform.
Okay.
All right, judges, I'd like to move on to feedback.
I mean, my recommendation is try to de-risk this as much as possible. To me, it sounds like a really kind of insurmountable thing. There's just too much competition. Merchants, restaurants, and what have you. Yes, they'll always give a discount, but you're not gonna, in my view, unless you've got some serious volume, they're always gonna give Uber Eats and the likes more discounts. And those platforms already have the mind share of the consumer anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, or if there's a way to incentivize hosts to be on your platform, to give hosts like particular perks or benefits. I don't know. I think about where there are like what the core pain points you're solving for here, and figure out like where Airbnb, Uber, and the various other companies that are all like capitalizing on the opportunity to exchange goods or experiences at a discount, like what pockets they're not going after.
I guess to answer that, there is a host incentive. Whenever the guest goes out to these restaurants or these local businesses, the host gets commission from going there. And if they get a business to register on our platform, they get commission from any guest in the area that goes there, even through properties that aren't their own.
Got it.
So couple of pieces of feedback here. I'm curious to, and I don't know the numbers on this, but what percentage of rentals on a site like Vrbo or Airbnb are professionally managed versus managed by individuals? My understanding is in a lot of vacation areas in particular, they're professionally managed. So to give you some color, the reason I would say that too is that my family owns a very small vacation rental that is professionally managed because it's nowhere local to us. And so we pay someone to handle all of this. And so it's really not a question of incentivizing me, but it's incentivizing our property manager who owns something, or who manages rather something like 60 properties, and whether they're willing to do this and whether they think that this is a value add. So that's one thing. I would also look into why Airbnb Experiences isn't going very well. That's been a giant investment of theirs, but it continues to lose money. And that would be a real concern I have if they can't make this happen and push that product to their renters or the hosts, or incentivize the hosts to offer the product or whatever it may be. If that's not working, then a third party app is going to be much, much harder. And then last but not least, you do mention kind of the commissions and stuff, and I'm unclear on how to properly how the tracking of that would properly work, and whether I as a small business owner in that local area with a coupon is going to truly play game and actually always say like, oh yeah, they did dine for $120 and here's your 10%. So trackability, I think, is a big question.
Yeah, no, I understand.
This is Karthi. I'm glad that you're addressing a pain point that's there, which is how do you make more money out of the properties that I manage, type of a thing. So I think that high level problem statement is actually very good. I think you might want to just refine the next steps. The restaurant or the bar, my guess is it's probably all done enough. If you even go to stay in a Hyatt or a Hilton or a Marriott, they'll have these coupons where if you use those, then the restaurants send some money back to the hotel. So you might want to go a little bit more than just this the low-hanging fruit of the restaurants or the bars. At the same time, I didn't realize that the Airbnb experience is not doing well. But so you might want to go somewhere between those experiences versus just a restaurant type of a thing. And if you can even bring meaningful revenue lift to these hosts, whether it is professionally managed or personally managed, I think that there will be a lot of value for it, a lot of appreciation for it. So I think I looked at it when you describe it is that you're trying to basically provide affiliate marketing for physical properties. So in a way, if I can do that, can I get a piece of that, whatnot? So you just want to refine the problem a little bit more so that you don't go into this commoditized restaurants bar. At the same time, you don't have to go invest quite a bit like the experiences. So figure out something that if you can refine that, I think that it's a very interesting opportunity. I think it's a good thought process. And Airbnb came about exactly like this in 10 years ago. So in that sense, I would suggest you to maybe think through the next couple of levels of the problem.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was very insightful.
One more thought is maybe you want to, I mean, you already got some interest, maybe go to Karthi's point, just go and double click some more and do the things that don't scale, do it manually. Just prove that this, as much as possible, de-risk this opportunity, because as it stands right now, there's just a lot of risk.
Okay, yeah.
Even if it's a neighborhood level or whatever.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. There's definitely other ways to validate this without having to go the full scale.
All right, guys, I think we are now at the end of our event, the pitch portion anyway. Thank you, judges, for all your comments. If you can join us during the networking portion, the virtual networking portion, that would be great. Otherwise, we will see you at another event. So I have actually, everyone, I have in the chat, copied, pasted a link to join the networking portion. We'll be using the breakout room feature, so everyone will be separated into several groups. Do we know how many people are in each group? Not yet, but once you click on the link, we will see you there. So I just want to thank you again. Thank you everyone for attending. It did go a little bit longer than we expected, but it was great. Thank you so much, and have a great night, everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, make sure you click on the other link first before I close this meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Anna. I'm going to have to step out. I can't join the networking, but I'll hopefully be in touch with some of the founders.
Yeah,
Sure.
same here. I have a 5 o'clock call, so I probably won't be able to join. But thank you for setting this up. It was great. Thank you.
Yep, no worries, guys. Have a great day.